Shannon Tully.
And welcome, Minister, and delighted to have this opportunity to discuss a number of issues that are mentioned in this motion, and it is a comprehensive motion, and I want to concentrate on a number of the issues. I suppose the first one is on apprenticeships, and we know there's a huge need for apprenticeships, particularly in the construction sector. I mean, people are telling me they can't get a plumber for love of money, or another woman was telling me her roof was damaged during Storm AO, and it's only 2 weeks since she was able to get someone to come and repair it. So I think we need to be doing everything we possibly can to encourage as many people as possible to go into apprenticeships, and I suppose to broaden apprenticeships to other areas as well, which I know there's some of that has already happened, and that's welcome. But there are many people dropping out of apprenticeships, and I suppose we need to look at why and what the reason is and why they're not completing the course. And part of it may be because the apprenticeship has taken longer than the 4 years that it's supposed to, again, due to backlogs in the system. And I know there's been some investment in this area, but there are still hold-ups, and it is still taking longer. And I suppose that combined with the very low rate of pay. Now, I was talking to a man at the weekend, and he was telling me his son, after 4 years of doing something else, decided to enter an apprenticeship at the age of 22, and he started off at £6.50 an hour. I mean, that's below the minimum wage for an under 18, never mind, minimum wage in general. And he's now in his second year on €8 an hour. I mean, that's not sustainable going forward for a young man of the age of 23, or if we want to encourage older people to enter who may have a spouse and a family and that they have to support as well. So I think we need to look at the pay rate there and look at the length of time it's taken to complete an apprenticeship. And I also would advocate that any fees for apprenticeships are scrapped as well, because we need to encourage as many people as possible to become apprentices in the different trades. I suppose we need to encourage as many people as possible as well to enter higher and further education, and for that to happen we need equality of access. And we still have quite high fees in Ireland here compared to other countries in the EU. And I know there was a reduction for the last 2 years, which was very welcome. I am hearing on the grapevine that that's not going to be the case going into the next term, and I think that's regrettable, and I think we need to see a phasing out of fees, even 500 a year over the next over the term of government until they're reduced completely. Because the SUSI grant system, it really does need to be reviewed and reformed. I mean, again, it's based on net income, it's based on gross income, but I really feel it should be based on net income. And like mortgage, or particularly the very high rents that people are paying, and other essential expenditure should be taken into account when looking at eligibility as well. And I mean, mature students, like students who are over 23 and may have been living independently, but because of the housing crisis are being forced to go back and live with parents, and then if they decide to take on a new course to change their profession, they're actually being denied the SUSI grant because their parents' income has been taken into account. I mean, again, that shouldn't be happening. We need to take into account that people are being forced to live at home because there aren't other available options to them. Also, the fact you can't access SUSI for part-time courses really means that disabled people and people with chronic pain, or some autistic students who wouldn't cope with the environment in a college and maybe want to study online, are deemed ineligible to apply for a SUSI. And I think, again, Minister, if you would look at that to ensure that the whole SUSI application process is much more inclusive, to encourage as many people as possible to pursue a third level course. I also feel students who work, say, outside of holiday time, many don't realise that their income is then used as an assessment then against the SUSI grant. And I had one student, and I felt really sorry for her. She had done her Leave Cert and qualified for a place in college. But because her parents couldn't afford, even with the SUSI grant, and they would have been eligible for it, afford to put her through college, she decided to fare for a year, work for that year, save up her money so that she would be able to then take on the course with the grant and get herself through the college. And she found that she wasn't eligible for SUSI because of her income. It was combined with her parents. And so maybe more information on that for students so that they know exactly whether they will qualify or they won't qualify. We also need a huge investment in student accommodation. I mean, students aren't able to live in the vicinity of the college, so they're not enjoying the whole experience of being a third level student, and they're being forced to commute long distances, which is exhausting and which is leading to many dropping out as well, because they're not able to to continue the course. So again, if that could happen, and we know that there's some people getting, or some developers have got planning permission to build student accommodation, make it so expensive that no student can possibly afford it, and then are applying for a change of use and being given a change of use. So again, that is something else that needs to be actually addressed as well, so that we ensure that student accommodation is in the areas where students need it, that it is affordable, and that it cannot be changed for alternative use that many are trying to do. Thank you, Chair.